Charlie. Welcome to the Quality Antics podcast.
Hello.
How are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
No, I'm great. I'm buzzing
It's
for this
Friday.
one.
It's good.
Oh, gosh, it is. It doesn't feel like it.
Should have a wine.
Welcome to the show, mate. Yeah, we should, but we've got a wee nice
okay.
fresh water.
That's fine.
To kick this off,
Yes.
how do I give a quick blurb about you? First thing I want to know, before we jump into any camera business, talk to me about your favourite colour.
You might have guessed it. I mean, maybe. Most people know.
Yeah, what is it?
It might be pink.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, talk me through, if you know Charlie at all, if you've seen her account, then you'll know she's a bit of a pink fan. I've noticed it, or even in the studio here, there's some pink floating around. Has pink been a thing in your entire life, or was that a slow progression?
No, always. It's like I say, I'm like a 5-year-old girl. Like I kind of just never grew up. My nails are pink at the moment, and I'm quite happy with them.
Nice.
It's quite fun. So it's my 5-year-old goal.
Yeah, cool.
Living my best life with pink all the time.
I was looking through before this podcast. I thought I'd dive deep into your Instagram.
I saw.
And then I did the classic mistake of liking a few old photos. I was like, oh, okay, this is a cool photo. Then I'm like, oh,
she sees that.
That was a million years ago. And
6 years ago.
And then you called me out on it, and that was great. And then all of a sudden I noticed this really consistent kind of change with your feed, like obviously going back and then looking forward. You kind of made a bit of a shift to focus more on pink. Was that an intentional thing, and why?
It was an intentional thing. I was kind of playing around with branding, I guess, and what I did with the business, because I had started freelancing and was just posting photos, and then I guess you can see where I started curating it a little bit more, started actually paying attention to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for you, our Instagram, I guess, which like would have been the same for most of us, was this thing where you put up, photos that you're proud of, document a wee moment here and there, and talk about your university journey. And I saw some cool little snaps in there. And then I guess now you're shifting towards, hey, look, I'm going to use this as a business tool to attract more customers. Yeah,
for sure. And you will have seen I've done that all on the same platform. So I don't have a personal account and a business account. I just have the one. So you can actually see the start of it's just photos of my cat, because I'm a crazy cat lady at heart. So you can see where it starts from me being a crazy cat lady to going through uni to starting a business to now running a business. So it's actually all on there. And I thought about kind of archiving it all and cleaning it up. But I kind of like it all being there. It's kind of fun because it's who I am.
No, totally.
Yeah, it's fun.
Was Charlie Rose Creative always your Instagram username, even back in the day?
No.
Oh, so you changed that at some stage?
I think it was probably just Charlie Jackson, or like just something really simple.
Yeah.
And then I just when I launched the business, I decided to do that. My Facebook page used to be taken by Charlie Rose, because before I was freelancing, I was taking photos for friends and things, and so they had pushed me. They had been like, you need to put somewhere so we can tag you and stuff, and I didn't know what to call it. Yeah. So it was just taken by Charlie Rose, and then eventually I made the change. So,
cool. Work it. Charlie, I wanted to have you on the podcast because you're someone that inspires me, but you're out there, you're doing it. You're doing the mahi. You're a local photographer here, and you're at events all the time that I'm shooting the same one, and I'm loving it. And so I want to hear your story. I want to hear a little bit about where you're at the moment, where you want to go, and maybe about how you got to the point that you're at so far, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably listening or watching the video version of this, and they take some snaps and they're enjoying it. But maybe they can't see the steps that they need to take to go to the next level. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that later in the podcast. But first, high school, university days. How was that for you?
High school was good. High school seems like a really long time ago. I'm getting old.
Yeah,
I'm actually not, but high school feels like a really long time ago. But I did enjoy it. I did lots of things. I've always been someone who does lots of things.
Nice.
So I did lots of drama. I did lots of dance back then as well, because that used to be who I was and what I was doing. And then I had an injury, had to stop dancing. Had to find something new to consume my life with. Started doing like every art subject I could. Dropped maths and science when I could. Sorry, old maths teacher.
No,
I know that's your world.
No.
I dropped all of that when I could, so that I could do all of the art subjects, and then kind of just dove into all of that. Which then I guess when it came to going to university led me to go to fine art school.
Cool.
Kind of seemed like a logical progression. And I chose to go to fine art school rather than go do a polytech course. Like in photography specifically, because I wanted a slightly broader look at things, because I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. So fine arts was really good for that. I loved fine art school. was really fun doing 4 years, but 4 years is a long time for a degree.
Totally.
Yeah.
So when you jumped into you kind of just briefly touched on it. So was photography a lingering thought when you jumped into that fine arts degree? Or like you say, did you just want to keep your options open and have a look at everything?
I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was kind of just rolling with it a little bit.
Cool.
I loved taking photos. I really liked design and stuff as well. I can't really draw.
Nice.
So first year fine arts, if you know about the fine arts degree, is they call it FINT, and it's fine arts intermediate, and it's based on drawing. So even though you do bits of different disciplines, it's all kind of based on drawing methods and really basic stuff to get you into it. So I think I cried my way through first year of fine arts and drank. Really positive influence here, but I really did, because I found that really hard, because I'm not gifted at that stuff. I tried and I got through it, but I always knew it was going to be. I actually briefly liked film for a little bit at fine art school, but it was like film, design, photog, basically anything that doesn't require me to draw or anything. I was happy in those worlds.
Classic.
Yeah.
Can you remember any, I'm putting you on the spot here, but can you remember any projects or assignments where you had to draw and you were, I don't know, sitting up late, like, oh my gosh, what the hell am I going to do here? These stick figures are not going to cut it. Like, what?
I absolutely can, because anyone that's done fine arts at Canterbury knows about the junk room and what I'm talking about when I say the junk room.
Okay. Elaborate. What is that?
This room, you might guess, it's a room at fine arts full of junk. So it's literally, I actually don't know if it's there anymore. It was filled with old furniture and bikes and props and crockery and like random things all stacked up literally in a pile in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And then sitting around the room, it's like a whole lot of desks or easels around the room, so that the students go in and it's based on life drawing. So you have to go and sit and draw what's in front of you, and because everyone's sitting in a different place in the room, everyone's actually creating something different because of their perspective.
Yep.
But you're literally creating something from what's in front of you. And we were doing that for, I can't remember how many weeks it was, but it was way too many. It was enough, because you literally have to draw. They sit you down and they say, draw that.
Yeah.
And my brain doesn't work like that. So I sit there and look at that pile and I'm like, how do I make that go onto a piece of paper? It's a really big disconnect for me. So that was the hardest part of fine arts school, and I think anyone that's gone through fine arts will definitely resonate with that one. It was so scary. It was so hard.
Junk room. And so you're going through, you're struggling, you're like, oh my gosh, I hate this. Then photography, you start to, when was that the shift where you started to really focus in photography or make a change? Was that in the later years?
Probably the second half. So the degree is a little bit of everything in the first semester, and then the second semester you pick two and you kind of hone in on them a little bit more. So my two were design and photog, so quite an obvious choice for me. But that was really fun, because it was like, cool, okay, we can start to see where we might take this and what you might do. And they did things like just trying to make us think really intentionally about what we were creating. It's a lot of what the fine arts world is about. So that was really challenging, but really fun. I also really liked the lecturers that we had in those two disciplines. So I think probably part of what pushed me in that direction was that these people that I really respected, I found them really supportive. They were incredible lecturers, so I think they actually helped push me in that direction as well, because I wanted to learn more from them.
Nice.
I think, they were great. Yeah.
So you finished your degree.
Yes.
And they pushed you out into the big wide world.
Yes.
What next? How on earth where do you go from there?
That's a really good question. I didn't really know either. I was really lucky to be set up doing some assisting in a really big commercial studio. Actually through one of our lecturers. He knew the guys there, even though they're quite different worlds. But Dedrick had said to Tim, our lecturer, that they needed someone for a little bit of work. And it was only kind of brief stints, which was quite tricky. So I had been working at a car dealership at this stage, running their marketing for a couple of years. So that was last couple of years of my degree. That was my job, my part-time job, which was really great. It taught me lots of things.
Awesome.
So I was doing that, and then this studio assisting job came up. And I was like, well, actually, I'm never going to get into a big studio that quickly, that easily again. So I took it. I left my car dealership job. I pawned that off on to another fine art student, actually, who I knew. Nice. So I was like, here you go. I know we can do this job. You can do this job now. He's still there, which is great.
Oh, great.
And then, so I went into the studio, and it was a whole other world, because fine arts students don't do heaps, or photog students there don't do heaps of studio training. That's not really the basis of their work, because it's not commercial. So to go into Lightworks, this big studio, which is probably about half the size of this room that we're in at the moment. Like it's massive. They've got all of the big fancy gear, stacks and stacks of gear. It was so terrifying, and I felt like I went in there and knew absolutely nothing. And they were like, "Oh yeah, but you've got a degree," and I was like, "Oh, I do."
Oh yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh, can you pass me that thing?" And I was sitting there being like, "Which one is it?" Literally, he'd be like, "Can you pass me a P70?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what that is." So that was really awkward. But they were doing, it would be like a 5 or 6 week stint of full time assisting them, and I wasn't photographing. I was literally steaming clothing garments and like handing the guy whatever he needed, things I didn't know what they were called.
P70s.
So it was literally that for like 5 weeks on end, and I think I did 3 or 4 rounds of that over the next kind of 12 months. It was only when they had certain pieces of work that they needed someone for it, but it was terrifying, and it was like a push into the commercial world. It was like, here you go. Yeah. But the cool thing was, like, at lunch times when I went upstairs and was talking to the guys having our lunch, or they'd be talking about other jobs, because the stuff we were doing was quite simple, but they'd be talking about other jobs that they had on, or they'd be like reviewing work, and I could see all these massive projects that they were working on for these big clients. Like, they photograph cars for car brands and things like that. They're like next level. All the big sports teams and stuff, they do all of that. And I'd see them chatting about the next Crusaders shoot or whatever, and I was sitting there being like, oh my God, these guys actually make money from this. This is amazing.
Cool.
And Dedrick, the guy who runs that studio, was self-taught. He got himself into the commercial world and worked his way up, and now has his own studio. So it was definitely like a deep end thing, but it was amazing. It was super cool. And I think I sort of started, I haven't really described how I got into this, have I? I started doing little bits of freelance work for people while I was there, kind of as I was going. So I through a family friend started doing a couple of little pieces when they were like, oh, I just need some photos, can you just come take some for me? That all kind of just started happening sort of organically. And then my first commercial client, I think she found me through like an online platform or something, but they got in touch and said, hey, look, can you come in and photograph for this little event we're having? And I did, and they're still my client to this day. So they were my first commercial client, and I'm still working with them, which is the coolest thing in the world. It sort of started just happening from there with lots of practice and lots of working for free. Lots of working for free, which is really fun.
I love that you mentioned working for free, because I hate it, but I'm also a massive fan of it. So you've been working a little bit in that studio, learning and just kind of observing, which sounds epic. Like it would be a cool opportunity. Like you say, you kind of had to jump ship because it was a step in a direction that you maybe wanted to go, and then. And the natural kind of freelance thing began for you, where friends and family are like, hey, she takes photos. Good photo of a cat that I saw. And then, is that how you've rolled on to today, or what else has gone on?
Pretty much. I mean, a lot's gone on. A lot of late nights crying, being like, what am I doing? I've had multiple other jobs since this. So December this year will be 5 years since I started freelancing.
Cool.
But over that time, I have worked. I've done a little bit of retail stuff, which is what I had done in like high school and university as well. What else have I done? I worked at the university for 2 years, helping run an internship program there. Right.
Yep. Cool.
Working at UC was great, and so I did that. I think I was 25 hours a week there, and then the other 50 hours of the week freelancing, pretty much. But I balanced that for a really long time, and a lot of those jobs where I was working part-time and freelancing, I would start out, I would do that juggle for however long, 6 months, a year or whatever, and then I'd get busier in the freelancing thing, so I'd be like dropping the other job hours back and trying to juggle that, and then eventually I actually just had to go full-time because I didn't have time to be doing both, because I was killing myself trying to do both, and it was really dumb. So and boundaries is something that I really, really struggle with sometimes.
Nice.
But in terms of how I got into it, I worked lots. I talked to lots of people. I learned that you really have to talk to people to get work or to even put yourself out there. I did this, I think it's a really Kiwi thing, when people say, oh, you take photos, what do you take photos of? And I was like, oh, I just take photos of things. that doesn't help you get work because they have no idea what you do.
Yeah.
So I made that mistake for quite a long time, which was, now I look at it, I'm like, wow, that was really dumb. But then I learned that you actually, if you can articulate what you do or even what you want to be doing, you don't have to tell them what you do right now. You could say, this is where I want to be. If you plant that seed in their mind, then they actually can help you find that work, because so much of what we do is based on like, oh, you need this. I know this guy, or I met this guy last week at this event, or I've seen this guy on Instagram, or whatever.
Totally.
That's basically how I've built it up, was like talking to people and doing lots of free jobs, or lots of jobs for like a nominal amount or a contra deal, like sometimes when I could recognize that it was going to be a really good experience for me, or it was going to teach me or challenge me in a way that I hadn't been before, I'd kind of go for it, even if it was like they're only offering me their product. That doesn't help pay my rent, but then I can turn around and say I did that. So I kind of juggled that a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, mate, that's great. I've got so many questions from that, but like, I'd love to hear really, if I was walking down the street and bumped into you, what do you say now when people say, hey, what do you do? And you're a photographer, great, but can I book you for my bar mitzvah? And then you're like, is that your thing? Or like, what do you say? What do you want to be doing? And what do you say?
Fair enough. I tend to say that I like working for businesses and brands. I like photographing products, food, and people are like my three pillars of the work I really like doing. Cool. And I like helping create imagery that tells a brand story. That is what I'm best at doing. That's what I really enjoy doing. And what I have recently learned, so like every time, if you ask me every month almost, that sentence would change, right? Or like every year, because I'm kind of figuring out what I'm doing. So I've learned in the past year that I can do more styling than I realized I could do. So I've learned that I actually really like some of the bigger picture stuff. Cool. I really like some of the concept creation and the design, not in terms of graphic design, but designing an aesthetic or designing a look for a client. I really like that stuff. So sometimes that means a little bit of styling, a little bit of concept creation. But I've only recently, probably past 6 months, realized that that's something I like doing, and it's where my most successful jobs are. Cool. So yeah, that spiel changes all the time. Great. But that's kind of where it sits at the moment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What is a project maybe within the last 3 to 6 months ish that really stands out in your mind when I ask the question straight away, that you're really proud of, or something that you maybe challenge you in a way that it actually, but you're really stoked with the results? Like, is there a project or a client or something that you've done recently that you're like, man, I smashed that, or man, I'm really proud of it?
There's a couple of things. Yep. One of them isn't photography related at all. The client, so Northlands was my first technical commercial client that I spoke about earlier, that I worked with way back when I was little. Cool. And that relationship grew again last year when I started creating retail installations for them, which is hilarious because I don't even know how I got into that. Yeah, but I kind of volunteered and was like, I can do that, because when I looked at it objectively, it brought in a lot of my skills and then skills of people that I work with. So my sister's business, and I don't know if you know Rob Henderson. So Rob, who is just great at everything. Cool. But I saw this opportunity and kind of jumped at it and said, yeah, cool, let's try that. So it ended up in us creating 4 different retail installations in the centre of Northlands Mall over a period of months, which is such a bizarre thing to have done, but it was really exciting for me, because when I talk about the concept creation and the styling and all of that stuff, it brings in all of those skills, and taking an idea and turning it into something visual, that's what I really like doing. So I did that. So that was when you say a challenge, that was a huge challenge, because I kind of didn't know exactly how to approach it or how to get into it, but I loved that stuff. And then in terms of photo shoots or product shoots, actually it's not even for a client, but I did a Valentine's Day shoot, obviously this month, which was in the studio where we're sitting right now, believe it or not, which I brought a whole lot of creatives together, people that I work with for commercial clients and things, but said, hey guys, I've got this wee dream and this wee idea in my head, let's create it. And it actually turned out better than I had hoped it would. Cool. And it was, I'm pretty proud of that one actually. It's kind of my most exciting one so far. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You talk about the freelance game and word of mouth and working with different clients. how have you've mentioned a few different things, but let's say for someone else, another freelancer listening, or someone who's thinking about diving into this world, how have you found clients? Has it been more of you hunting, or have they approached you because of things that they've seen you do? What is the most common way that people find you and book you for work?
Definitely tends to be word of mouth. Majority of my work comes through word of mouth.
Cool.
It didn't at the start, right? So it doesn't just you can't just say, oh, I want to be a freelancer, and then it magically just comes in the door. Yeah, it unfortunately doesn't happen like that. I'd love it to, but it doesn't. So like I say, I'm 4 and a bit years in now, and now my work comes through word of mouth. Cool. So that's a really exciting position to be in, and I found that those referrals means that I tend to get the right types of clients or the right type of work because like-minded people and all of that. So definitely has come from that now, but at the start, like I say, it was talking to people, it was approaching people. I've like cold called or cold emailed, whatever you want to call it. Lots of people saying, hey, look, this is what I do.
Cool.
9 times out of 10 you get a no, or not even a no, just a no, like no response. They just ignore it, which is really cool. It's really fun when you like run into them in the future as well. You're like, hey, I did that thing, that's okay. Hopefully they say she's brave. Say, so that's fine. But I did do a lot of that. I've tried lots of different techniques in terms of making physical collateral, talking at different things, offering my services. I still keep an eye on different like pages, like creatives pages, or just other things online, forums online where people are saying, hey, does anyone know a photographer? I've definitely put my hand up for lots of real strange stuff. But I found that's also quite helpful, especially if you can put your hand up and say, hey, look, I can donate my skills to that. Especially if it's something where they're like, we don't have a budget. I feel like I don't have any money to contribute to this, but I'm like, I can give you my skills. Like I can do something that can help you. So I've definitely done a lot of that, which I've found then people see, and then they get an idea of what you want.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. Now, I'm just going to ask you a random question here. In terms of my side of things, the two chunks that you kind of look at with my job is I'm either filming or editing. They're like the main things. There's admin and other things. Yeah. And I balance between being like, oh man, I just want to shoot. Every day I'm like, oh, I just want to film, I want to set up my camera, woohoo, here we go. And then other days we're like, I am loving this edit. I just want to stay in the studio. And I'm like, we're all vibing it. I don't feel like filming anything. I just want to work with the footage. Oh, wow. Do you feel the same? And do you go through ebbs and flows of these? Or are you like always an even split of loving both of those? I definitely go through
ebbs and flows. See, this is why I think video is so hard, because in my mind, video requires so much editing time, and it just terrifies me. I'm terrified of video. This is why I like having you around, so I can pawn off video jobs to you. Like, here you go. Great. I love that. But I am definitely more keen on the shooting and the creation side than the editing, I think. I think I'm stronger in that side as well. The dream would be to have someone else edit my files one day. How good would that be? I'd love that. I would really love that. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'll ever be there, but it's okay. A girl can dream.
Yeah, no, good stuff.
I mean, I've started to like editing or the processing and that side of things more since I made the change to be in a space like this where I have a place to go to work. When I was first freelancing and I was just working from home, I found it really hard to sit and edit or sit and do that stuff, because I was sitting at home and I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the fridge and see what's there, or I'm going to hang out with my cat because he's way more fun. Like I definitely I needed the discipline of like, get up and go to work and sit down and go to work here. So if I can, I would rather be shooting than editing.
Oh, nice. I love it. Fair enough.
That's okay. It's got to be done.
In terms of your workflow, I can see some Lightroom action happening over the screen there. You use Lightroom for your editing.
Predominantly.
Have you... Like, I look back on photos from 2 years ago and I'm like, what was I doing?
Oh, yeah.
Has a progression of like your style? Can you see that in your photos, or have you kept it reasonably consistent, made like slight tweaks, or how do you kind of approach that? Because there are some styles out there in terms of photography that's like quite bold and even trends that pop up that like everyone's doing certain bits and bobs. And as a photographer, I feel like it'd be quite easy to be like, oh, I want to have a play with that and I want to bounce around a little bit, but then at the same time, maybe you want to keep your like
you look
the same, because then people fall in love with that. They want to book you for
that look.
Same, not this random new preset pack that you've bought and you're slapping on everything. So how's that been for you?
It's definitely something I'm really conscious of.
Okay.
It's something that I've kind of played around with a little bit, but I think there's also something really key in that when you're working for a client, when they come to you, they need something, and until you get to a certain point, you have to give them what they are looking for. My dream that I've had for a couple of years is that people come to me because they want me to shoot it, not just because I'm some girl with a camera that happens to be able to photograph, for them to say, hey, look, I actually want Charlie to photograph that. That to me is huge, and I aspire to be in that place.
Me too.
So, I aspire for people to say, I want her look and her take on it. So I am trying to create my own look and feel and my own approach to things. And I guess you naturally do have some of that. But the other side to that is, if a client wants something really like moody, dark, low saturation, whatever, you need to deliver that because the client is paying you to do that. So there's this really weird balance between like, I want to have my look, but also I have to do what the client needs. So I've definitely got different clients where things change, or sometimes I'm even speaking to them and they'll be talking about what they're trying to achieve or what their new campaign looks like or whatever, and in the back of my mind I'm like, cool, okay, I can see what sort of look or feel they need. Sometimes I know that they need something really like white, clean, Scandi, fresh. Or I had one the other day where they were like, cool, we've got this like 70s Miami beach kind of vibe that we're going for with our promo, and I was like, sweet, you need bright colors, block colors, which is the stuff I love. Like that's where I'm really happy and that's where I want to like push towards. But when he said that, I was like, sweet, cool, I can do my thing on this, rather than having to like sacrifice my view and my vision for the client. But you've got to do what the client wants, because the client's the one that pays you. So
yeah, that's so interesting, because in my world I've experienced exactly that, where I just dream of them coming to me for a quality antics video, not just a guy with a camera.
People do that for you.
Maybe.
I definitely think people are like, I want Dave to shoot, or some of them don't even know you. They're just like, I want that quality antics guy to shoot.
But then I've had some clients where they were like, oh, hey, can you change this? And hey, can you do this? And then at the end, you're like, oh, I'm not going to put I don't want this on my portfolio anymore.
Yeah, totally. Don't want to put your name to it.
They kind of kill the mood, or like that's mainly only happened once or twice. But then going back to your point, at the end of the day, hey, look, they are wanting the video. They're there, and so we can, as freelancers, we need to kind of listen to them and do what they wish. But interesting dynamic.
It's a really hard one to navigate, and I think, some days, some weeks, I probably feel like I'm doing better at it than others. You might have a run of clients. Do you find your clients tend to do you find you get how do I describe this, like little bunches of types of work, or feeling like sometimes I'll find that I have a week full of food work for some weird reason, or everyone seems to be wanting this one thing. It's like when your friend gets a car and then all of a sudden you think you see that car everywhere and you're like, I never knew there were that many Daihatsus around. That thing, it's kind of like that with my clients sometimes. Like sometimes I find that my work kind of like pockets, which is really weird. And it's probably just a mental thing, but it's real strange.
I'm just trying to think. Oh, I definitely know that effect happens where the car
There's a name
effect,
for it, and I have no idea what it is. There's definitely a name for it.
For me, it's been the iPhone, where I've looked into new iPhones, and then all of a sudden my iPhone plays up, or it's slow, or the battery's dying, and I'm like, I've never complained about this phone in my life before, and then all of a sudden I'm like,
it's a sign.
I'm like, wait a minute, is Apple like, no, are they listening? Do they know I'm thinking about upgrading? So they're like, we're going to turn this to a piece of shit.
They listen to everything.
But in terms of my work, I guess, but I'm terrible at mapping out the pattern actually of what we've got. So I wonder.
That's an interesting point.
I
don't know if it happens to anyone else.
Yeah, I bet it does though. I guess especially there may be seasons, especially with like work related to food, where they're like, hey, we've got a new menu rolling through, or things like that, which may influence things. But I guess for me at the moment, lots of events have been on, so it's like tis the season for that sort of stuff. So. But a couple of questions that I'm trying to ask every guest. I really want to know. The first one is, what inspires you? Now, I don't want you to say...
Very broad question.
Yeah, so you could take it wherever you want. So you may be like the colour pink. You may...
love the colour pink.
You may be like a specific person within your life who, hey, you really get some inspiration from. It could be music. It could be a good book or a film.
But are we talking... are we talking what inspires you creatively, or like what inspires you to get out of bed and do your thing in the morning? Like, where are we?
Hey, it could be all of the above. Like, I guess,
hard question.
yeah. So you could, but as long as you explain where you're coming from. So, some people in the past have talked, hey, look, this book inspired me in a business sense. This, whatever, inspired me in a creative sense. So it can be really, really vague.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'll go first so you can think. I'll just pull one on the top of my head. I've been talking an absolute truckload lately about this audio book that I've been listening to. And oh my gosh, I should know the name of it.
Clearly, it really inspires.
Indistractable, and it just made me reevaluate and actually value my work time, my personal time, and maybe to work harder in my work time because it taught me to eliminate distractions and all that jazz, which I just bloody freaking love, and even just appreciate and block out time for myself, which I wasn't like really doing. Like if all of a sudden
I think
an email,
all freelancers are guilty of that, aren't we?
Like,
that's why I say before about boundaries.
Yeah,
I'm terrible with
I know, but I was the worst at any hour. Someone would email me, be like, "Hey, do you have this file?" And I'll be like, "Oh, great! Like,
I'll get it right now.
I'll just go do it." And it's
There's
like, wait a minute.
no reason you should get it right there and then.
And
but I'm the same.
But even turning off email notifications. So like when I go check my phone, I'm like, oh damn! Like, and I may have. It's like 1 o'clock and I haven't checked it. But when it hits, you're like, oh god, I've got so much stuff to do. But as long as you're in a like blocked work time, but that's really just got me revved up for work.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. I like that. And go. And go. Don't stop. In terms of a drive to work hard and to do really good things, this is so cheesy and so great, but I've always been an adoring little sister. I have an amazing big sister who is incredibly hardworking. She always has been as long as I can remember. We do quite different things, but the cool thing now about where we're at is we kind of like cross over in our work sometimes, so I can work for her company, which is really great. But ever since I can remember, I have seen her work really hard and create really cool things and do things differently and not be afraid to do that. She's a kick-ass woman. So I've always seen her do that. And I guess when I was starting freelancing and I was really terrified of doing it, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I should just get a, steady job or anything like that. It's like, oh, but I've seen Erin do it and Erin does it so well. So like, I know it can be done.
Yeah.
So I've always had a really cool kind of inspiration from that perspective in terms of like you can do your own thing and you can do it in your own way, which I really love, which is really cool. It's funny doing a podcast because I'm not a massive podcast person at the moment, but I've been talking about it lots recently with people and I really want to start getting into it. I like reading though.
Nice. That's
I've been reading a really great book at the moment, which is called Photo Work, and it is classic, but it's interviews with 40 different photographers. They ask them all exactly the same questions, so I find it really interesting because you read through it and like some of them contradict each other, which is kind of bizarre, but you can see everyone's different perspectives on it. And I found it quite inspiring and interesting because it does remind me that we all do this really, really differently, which is really cool because sometimes I think I find myself wondering if I'm doing it the wrong way, if I've approached something the wrong way or if I'm doing it wrong. And then you read that and you read how they all have different approaches to things in terms of clients or delivery or creative inspiration or whatever, or how you should be dealing with things. And they all think about it differently. So that's been a really interesting, refreshing inspiration at the moment. Yeah, it's just seeing everyone's different approach to things.
Well, I bet that's a common thought with freelancers. Am I doing this the right way?
Oh my God.
Am I invoicing in the correct method?
And there's
or
not
am I
really anyone to tell you how to do it. You can ask people how they do it, but there's no like right or wrong answer in terms of how to freelance, especially across different disciplines.
Totally.
So it's a bit daunting. When
That's
you think
cool.
about it. Yeah,
That
but
book
no, it's
sounds
good.
interesting.
Yeah, so that's a good book. So that's getting me through at the moment. Yeah, I like that. Good.
In terms of inspiration,
Yes.
no, in terms of like Instagram inspiration, who are you, what accounts are you checking out? Do you go there to post your own thing and then get out? Do you go there to search and like the people that you follow, I guess? Like, what do you have anyone on there that you're like, hey, I love digging their vibe?
Heaps all the time.
Oh,
I love looking through people's work. I'm definitely an Instagram person, not a Facebook person.
Okay.
I don't find Facebook engaging. I really struggle with it. So everyone laughs at me because they'll be like, oh, I invited you to that event. I didn't see it. I missed the event. I've definitely missed things because I didn't see the Facebook event because I just don't care about it. I just don't like looking at it. Whereas I like looking, because I'm a visual person, obviously, I like looking at Instagram because it's kind of made for that. So I look at that. I follow quite a few overseas photographers, studios overseas as well. There's a couple that I follow that it's really interesting to watch the studio's approach. Like obviously they've got more than one photographer and more than one staff member, unlike me who's just one woman band. But
solo.
Yeah, which is cool. But one of my favorites is Eye Candy Berlin. So it's a studio over in Berlin, and everything they do is really, really strong, really colourful, which is the type of work I really like and I really respond to. They do really amazing product and people shoots, and they are next level in their delivery. It's just phenomenal. So I look at them as like if I could internship anywhere in the world right now, Eye candy. Like if I could get in there, I would be beside myself. I actually don't know if I could do any work because I'd just be so in awe of what they do. So they're definitely someone that I look up to in terms of the type of work. But then I have heaps of photographers in Christchurch that I follow. We've got so many amazing creatives here, so I love following that stuff. I really like following people's wedding photography, even though like most people know I'm not a wedding photographer and I don't really tend to do it, but I love following it because I love looking at the images they create because they create such beautiful stuff. So there's heaps. There's endless amounts of photographers, but then also a couple of like design studios, brands, marketing agencies. I'm a real geek for following marketing agencies. I was telling someone the other day and they laughed at me so hard. I get these emails, which is like an EDM that goes out and it's about the agency world in New Zealand, like the marketing agency
what's an EDM?
The electronic distributor mail,
oh,
like an email, marketing.
I just never heard that term. Sorry,
so I get their EDMs, which is real funny because it's all like marketing agency chat. I don't work for an agency. I don't actually work in any agencies really. I've done a couple of jobs for them, but I really like seeing what they're doing, and I really like seeing the clients they're getting and the type of work they're doing because. They are kind of the ones that drive the visual collateral that we see in the world. So I really like to know what they're doing, what they're thinking about. It's real geeky. But so I follow the agencies to see what they're up to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a bit weird. But
oh, that's buzzy. I need to I'll probably do that myself.
I find it really fascinating, actually. They do some really cool stuff. And it's just, I find that process really interesting because you'll find the same. You work one-on-one with the client, whereas when you watch it go through an agency, you watch the different levels to it and the number of people it has to go through and the things that they can produce while doing that. It's really incredible. Yeah.
I watched a really interesting series a while back on YouTube. I really am interested in your thoughts on YouTube. I don't know if you use it as like a learning tool or an inspiration tool, but I watched a series called Building a Brand, and it was all about a brewery over in America and this digital agency were going to refresh their whole look and create a new video for them and everything. And they took through the steps and there was a team working through that, and it cost a lot of money to get all that stuff done. But it made me realize how many fingers can be involved at once, like how many people can be involved and how the clients, because the clients weren't happy with some things they produced and they were like, nah, I don't like this. And so that was interesting dynamic to go through because
it's a hard thing to navigate.
But it was really, really cool.
Oh, that's interesting. I love all of that stuff. Creating a brand, creating consistency, creating a really strong aesthetic. I'm such a freak for it. I just like I'll freak out over packaging in the supermarket and my boyfriend's sitting there being like, can we just get some food? But I love seeing people execute that stuff really well. If I see a good campaign, I get real fizzed over it.
We're here in the studio.
We are.
In your studio.
There's lots of things.
I'm loving it.
Oh, I'm pleased you like it.
It's a freaking nice space.
It's like my little home. It's my second home. I spend a lot of time here.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. For those people who are listening, and if you were to explain the space, where are we? And then also give us a bit of info on what you've got here and what makes it easier for you to work.
I can do that. Yeah. We are working we've got a beautiful big old warehouse space. It's beautiful, but it's also cold in winter and hot in summer. So it's a great combo. We love it. We've got there are anywhere between 8 to 15 of us. So it's sort of a shared creative space, I would say. We have fashion designers, illustrators, graphic designers, we used to have a leather maker, videographers, we got a little bit of everything, and we all just have our own space and get up and go to work here, which is really great. I find that really beneficial because I need somewhere to get up and go to work rather than, like I was saying before, sitting at home working. So have definitely made my way home now here, and I don't know if I could ever work from home again, which is fine. I love it. So Salt Lane is my way home. So I was explaining to you earlier, I have a studio, sort of a separate space, and then a desk space, which was a recent change when I figured out sort of how much studio space I need to operate a photo shoot. So it was a little bit too cramped, and now I've made the change, which makes it really usable. Also means I can hire it out if I want to, which, you know, I might start doing a bit more of this year. So I have my desk where I do all my processing, my admin.
I was like, wait, is it a standing desk? But no, your chair's there.
My chair's there. It's a bit low for a standing desk. Not that short. Come on. Hey now.
Nice.
I have lots of things around my desk, lots of flowers, dried flowers, because when I use florals for a photo shoot with a product, I then hang them up and dry them, like you can see over there. And then I can use them again as dried flowers, but I also just like the feeling of them hanging around, quite like a plant or two. Nice. So I have a lot of that stuff around, a little bit of inspirational pieces from different designers or other photographers and work that I really like from people. My notebook with my list, because it's really fundamental to the way I work. So that notebook it's an A4 notebook, and each week I write a list, which is basically like 4 sections, which is shoot, edit, invoice, and then notes and quotes. So like anyone I'm quoting for or talking to, or things I need to remember so I don't drop anything, because I really like writing things down. I know it's great to be paperless, but hey, I've just gone paperless with my diary. Like I used to sort of do a mix of half paperless, half not with my calendar. I'm full paperless with my diary now, which is quite something. But from a workflow perspective, I like to look at a list, and I really like to cross it off when it's done. I really need that to be like, yeah, cool, done that, on to the next thing. So that's my wee list, which I'm basically lost without. And then my studio is sort of a big empty space with background rolls up at one end with some beautiful colours. I've got a hot pink, a yellow, a white, a maroon, a bone. I just got a red, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to use it. Sorry, Ruben, I love you dearly. I bought it from Ruben, but I just don't know if I'm going to use a red. But I thought, hey, I might have a client one day who needs a red, so I might, break out of my shell and use red for the first time.
Nice.
A few studio lights. Most of them are actually packed away right now, and then heaps of props from different shoots.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, there's always things like from our Valentine's Day shoot. Got some gold spray painted fruit.
Nice.
There's always weird things. People that work in the office like to wander in and see what I've been creating. They're like, "What's Charlie up to this week?" There's usually something weird going on. Yeah. Which is kind of fun.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it's a bit mad, to be honest. But I've got everything I need and more. I've got a little cart that has like hairbrushes and hairspray and mirrors and things for when I'm working with models, which is great when someone's like, "Oh God, I just need to brush her hair back," and I'm like, "Here you go." Got to be ready. You've got to be ready. Yeah. Basically, every time I do a shoot and I'm like, "Oh, I need that. I don't have it." I go buy it so that I've got it for the next time. So it's basically learning from all my mistakes. Yeah. And then putting something together.
I love it. How often do you clean the space? Like, do you have a dedicated time where you're like, I'm gonna focus on cleaning today?
I do, but then also, if I've got a big batch of editing and I'm really not enjoying it, my studio gets cleaned beautifully, and the editing does not get done. That definitely happens. I'm a solid procrastinator. Nice. I repaint the floor probably every 3 to 4 months, maybe 5 or 6 if I'm feeling lazy.
Nice.
Because it does, obviously, it's a white floor, so it does get kind of dirty. It's a big old warehouse, like I say, so like there's a lot of dust and stuff, but I just repaint it when I need to.
Nice.
Keep it looking fresh.
Nice.
Yeah, tidied it before you came in to make sure it's all nice for you.
Good job. And in terms of camera gear, let's geek out for a tiny little bit. What are you?
I'm actually not super geeky with camera gear. You know this about me, eh? I have tools that work for me, that do the trick, and I really believe in shooting great images with the gear that I have. Obviously, it's nice to have gear that is really up to date, but I don't believe that the best gear makes the best photographer. I've seen both situations of someone who has an average camera and takes great images, and someone who has a great camera and does not take great images. So, it's I always laugh. Sometimes I'll meet someone and they'll be like, "Oh, what are you shooting on?
What lens is that?"
And I sometimes just play it down because I kind of find it funny. I'm just like, "Oh, I don't know, just a little thing." I'm like, "Yes, I do know what it is," but I can't be bothered getting into the geeky chat or the like dick measuring stuff of like, "Oh yeah, what lens do you have? What mark is it?" I'm like, "Oh, for God's sake, I do the things. Let me do the things." Nice. So, I balance, like, obviously you need to have good gear that works, but I'm not super geeky about the latest and greatest.
So when you were starting out, because for me it was like, start out with what you've got, sure.
Totally.
But then eventually I got to the stage where I was like, man, I just need this lens. I've rented it 4 times. I should probably jump ship.
It's a good way to do it though, just to see if you would use it, to see if, cost per use is actually going to be there. Yeah, it's good.
And now I've got so many lenses that I need. I'm trying to like whittle my way back, but then I'm that one prime lens I've used, I do like the look of it. Things like that.
You have your baby that you love.
So how have you chosen the lenses that you typically use? Is it just? I started with
a super basic. Actually, I started with a super basic camera with a kit lens.
Nice.
Which was pretty average, and I wasn't that. I was really struggling with it, and so when I had to upgrade, I spoke to someone, and I can't remember who it was now, but it's always stuck with me. And you'll talk to anyone, they'll tell you the same, that putting good glass in front of a body is most important. So I took that advice really strongly, and I bought a beautiful 24-105, the Canon lens, which is just a really great basic. You can use it for
all round,
almost any situation. Yep. I just love it. So I bought that to put onto a basic body, and that was the best move I could have done because it totally stepped me up instantly. And then that saw me through for quite a long time. I did upgrade my body next, and then I started getting into other wee lenses. I had a wee Nifty 50 for a while, which they're so fun. Yeah. But then actually that got, there's a Nifty 50 sitting over there that I just don't even love anymore.
Yeah, because, I saw a few lenses over there.
A few old ones sitting over there because I bought the 40mm prime. The little Canon, it's a little 2.8, a little pancake lens. It's so cute. I love it. It's so small, but it's just beautiful. It's the mechanics are smoother than the 50. The 50 is real clunky. The 1.8 is anyway. I don't have the money for the 1.2. It's ridiculous, but it's real. I find it really clunky. It's really noisy, whereas the 40 is quite smooth. It's a little bit better quality. So I love that one. But then I'm trying to think when I made the change or how I made the change. I was very lucky to have a friend who had a lot of gear that he didn't use very much. He was a photographer, but he had a full-time job and just, wasn't really shooting that much apart from in the weekends. So I definitely spent about a year borrowing lenses off Sam almost weekly. When you say you've hired it 4 times, you need it. Honestly, I was borrowing it a lot. There were weeks on end that I'd have his lens, and then he would just message me being like, "Can I have my lens back?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know, you can maybe borrow it." So that proved to me that I really needed the lens. I think that's actually really important. I think buying the lens because you're going to use it, not just because it's pretty. But that's when I got the 70-200, the 2.8, and it's just the sexiest thing in the world. I love it so much, and I use that lens as much as I can because I love it. It suits the way I shoot as well, because particularly, when I'm working events with you, I tend to be a candid moments person in terms of the way I shoot people. I don't like to be like, "Okay, everybody, get together, smiling at me." I don't find that content engaging because I don't want to see a photo and just see like who was there. I want to see that the event was really whatever it was, really exciting or really like terrifying or whatever the occasion was, that people were really happy, people were talking to each other and having a good time. I want to capture those moments. So I think the 70-200 works for that because it lets me be a little bit further away. They kind of forget I'm there, or they don't know I'm there anyway, so I can get candid stuff. I really like that stuff. That's kind of the way I shoot. That's the way I like to shoot people, and I find that lens works for me rather than shooting on like a little prime where I have to get up in someone's face. That's just not the type of person I am, I guess.
But that makes like I'm really similar, and I'm trying to think why, but then I'm like, it's also really like challenging but also semi kind of nerve-wracking and exciting to, let's say, go to an event, packed room, right, I feel awkward with a wide lens walking on me like in someone's face. But the 70-200 gives you that ability to like which is like a telephoto lens for people who are like, what
yeah, sorry.
It's just a lens that can, you can take photos or videos like across the room and get some nice little,
beautiful.
but it's like
little snippets, like little vignettes of things.
Yeah, but you've got to be constantly watching and thinking, where are people going to be doing
I love that
things?
game.
And that's kind of,
I love, don't you love like preempting what someone's going to do? Yeah. And it's funny because if someone like comes up and is talking to me, you know, if I see someone I know or whatever and they'll be talking to me and I'll like listen, but I'm still watching someone because I know what they're about to do or I'm waiting for the moment. They're like, you listening? I'm like, sort of, not really. Or I'll be talking to someone and then I'll just all of a sudden start taking photos and turn my back to them.
Yeah, I do that with you whenever we're shooting. We're both like, oh, hey, how you going? And then one of us will just walk off and it's like, I don't get it because you gotta get it. But the amount of times I hit record, he's going to have a drink of his wine glass now. And then it's like, damn it, he didn't. Like, and then you have all this random footage.
Yeah, or there's always the guy, those bloody guys. There's always the guy who sees your camera and is like, and jumps in front of it. You know, there's always the guy who thinks he's real funny. Yeah. And if you've been waiting for 2 minutes to line up that shot and then old mate Bob just decides to like saunter on into your shot, God, it annoys me. Yeah. Every time. Yeah. There's like almost every wedding or event or party, there's always one of those people. Yeah. Real pain. Yeah. Real pain. All the Bobs out there, please stop doing it. We don't like it.
But like, man, for me, whenever I'm at a festival or an event and then people just assume I'm taking photos and I'm like, I'm doing video here.
Can I have a photo?
Yeah. And I was at like a first year university gig recently trying to film for DJs and these girls are like, yeah, photos, and it's pitch black. Yep. And I'm walking around with a mic on top of my camera and I'm like
and I just go, I don't have a flash, you know, like I literally can't see you. Yeah. But because they've had a couple of wines or RTDs or whatever the kids are drinking and it's quite loud and they can't hear you and they're like, what? Just take my photo. Yeah. I used to play this game when I used to photograph lots of gigs if I couldn't be bothered. You know, on a flash unit, it has the pilot button to test it. Oh, yeah. So I went through this phase when I was being a real dick, and I wouldn't actually take the photo. I just pressed the pilot button. They thought I'd taken a photo, and I walked away. That's good.
Yeah, I have
probably
done
not the best approach.
I've done that with video as well. Just being like, yeah, sure, and then just being like, okay, got it.
Good job. You look great. And then they're like, can I see it? You're like, no, you definitely can't see it because it does not exist. Oh, yeah, I know.
The pilot flash trick, that is
ruthless.
It's good.
It's terrible. It's really mean. I'd done years of gigs and it was just, I was starting to get over it. Yeah.
Let's talk music for a second.
Okay.
You're driving in your car. You're cleaning at home. I don't know when the time that you listen to music most, if any, but like
all the time.
What tunes get you going? What tunes get you kind of like? What tunes do you bop your head to? Are you like an ABBA kind of girl, or are you like a more of a modern? I don't know. What are you? Are you a classical kind of girl?
I'm a lot of things. I'm not a country girl. Ooh, it's like one of the few genres I just can't get into it. Yeah. It's just not my jam. I am into a lot of very varied music. I have some wonderful friends that I've worked music events, gigs and festivals and things with for many years. So like I say, I used to photograph lots of gigs and stuff. Cool. So I've been very lucky to see some really amazing artists and to work on that stuff as well. So I used to work a few festivals and things. Epic. And I have so many artists that I love. They're usually not like obscure, but it's not usually like the main headliner. I usually like the second stage is usually my spot. Yep. The ones that people are like, wait, who, what? Yeah. But I really like that stuff. I love. We put together like our ideal festival lineup, but then we figured out how much it would cost, and we're like, oh, it's quite expensive, and I don't know if I'd sell that many tickets, so it's a bit awkward. But so Taku is my favourite. He's an Australian producer. My cat is called Taku after Taku. That's how much I love his music.
How did you find Taku? At a gig? Or how did you discover this Australian producer?
I have never seen Taku play live. He doesn't play many live gigs, from what I've been told. I think he's quite expensive when he does, but he doesn't like playing live. It's actually not his thing. So he's mainly a producer. Probably through our friends, through maybe similar artists and things. But Taku is incredible. Yeah. So
Taku's your headliner.
Taku's probably my headliner. Okay. But Mr. Carmack, Anderson .Paak, Masego, Georgia Smith, probably Brockhampton. It kind of goes everywhere. Like it kind of like weaves in and around all sorts of things. I have like a little metal side of me that I've always had since I was like quite young. I was always a massive Chili's fan. Getting to see Chili's live is probably still one of my highlights of my life, because it was just like, I saw Anthony standing there and it was like, oh my God, he's actually real. Coolest thing ever. Cool. So, you know, I still have like that side of me. I was a massive No Doubt fan for like years and years when I was younger, like Gwen Stefani, like Hollaback Girl and all of that, like No Doubt Gwen Stefani. Obsessed with her. Cool. Obsessed. I love her. So that's like where I came from, and then I kind of like ventured into this, a lot of electronic music, things like that. I really like I like a broad range. It's quite weird. Are
you a kind of girl who you put on a playlist, or you play an album and you're just like, I'm not touching the phone now? Do you just sit there and listen? Or like, I literally am like 30 seconds. This is my favorite. I'm like, this is my best song ever. I love this song. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I do that a little bit. I do that a little bit, and my boyfriend does it too, so it's quite funny, because one of us will be enjoying the song and then the other one's like, hey, what are you doing? I do that a little bit. A lot of our friends are DJs though, so DJs are notorious for having this habit of playing 30 seconds of a song and then skipping it. So I think we're like, yep, cool, got the main beat, we're good, on to the next one, exactly. Which is a little bit shocking. But I do that sometimes. But it's different if I sit down to listen to an album. I don't know if people do it so much anymore, but when people used to make an album and it was really curated and they'd really thought about the album and how it reads, like it literally reads like a book, or it listens like a book, you know. I like to appreciate that, so I like to put it on and listen to the whole thing through, because I think you get much more from the music than listening to the individual song. Depends on my mood a wee bit.
There's only a few artists that recently, I'm trying to think of when the latest one would have been, that where I do that and commit to that like full album experience, instead of just like cranking the single.
There's a few of them that really think about it still. Like Frank Ocean still does a great job of like creating something that's really purposeful and that you can like listen right through. He kind of takes you on a wee journey. I think Childish Gambino did
Tame Impala for me was his latest album. I was like, oh cool, I get to just kind of dive deep into it. I love that. I appreciate the work that goes into creating something so curated like that. It's cool. Love that. I need to ask this before we wrap up. Because I want the 12-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 48-year-old listener / viewer to hear your thoughts and your opinion on starting out, and tips, tricks, everything. So they've got an iPhone, they've got the new Samsung, or maybe they've got their uncle's DSLR, and they're like, hey, I've got this kit lens, and I just want to, I'm enjoying it, but I don't really know where to start. What would your tips, tricks be if someone's starting out, they're taking a few photos on auto at the moment, maybe they're taking some photos on their phone and they're trying to edit them. What would be some like general advice for someone who's dabbling in the photography game, and maybe they're wanting to up to the next level and maybe eventually start earning money from it?
Oh, it's a really broad question, because it's such a broad world, you know, there are so many options. I think that's something I found, is that you start into it and you're like, oh, I'm going to be a photographer, and then you find that that is such a broad term. It's actually just its own little universe, which is quite tricky. But I think it's really
so would it be like take photos of everything and then figure out what you like?
I think it's practice. I spent a lot of time photographing things that I'm not great at photographing, and I know that now, but I think the practice is really, really, really important, and trying different things, because until I started working for a magazine, I didn't know that I liked doing food work. So I kind of discovered that by accident, because I had to do it, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a go, and then realized that my food work was really good. And I was like, oh wow, cool, that's fun. So I think practice, and I think trying different things, and it's a fine line, being critical in terms of being self-aware and being really honest with yourself in terms of what is working and what is not. But I think it comes down to the purpose as well. You know, do you want to be taking great family photos at your family reunion, or do you want to be working for a client? You know, think about the purpose and think about what is important for those moments, I guess.
So then would you recommend to someone starting out, hey, look, have that kind of mindset of already having clients, and like what would clients want to see, what would be examples of, instead of taking a photo of your family and sure, it's taken really well, but so would you try and take photos that I guess that clients would book you for, and so you can have examples of that, or
yeah, quite possibly. I think putting together a portfolio can be quite helpful, because for someone to pay you for your work, they need to know that you can deliver what is expected, right? So I think you really do have to keep in mind what you want to be doing, and try to get the experience, volunteer for something, put your skills towards something, or set up your own thing. It is so accessible. There is no reason why you can't do a photo shoot with a friend, just to get some practice at taking portraits, or your mum or your dog, or whatever it is that you want to be doing. I think just trying it is really, really valuable, just getting out there and doing it, and trying different things as well. I think about different ways that you might shoot things. Think about a different perspective for it, or a different light for it, or a different, I don't know.
That brings me exactly to what I wanted to say, was some people have said, hey, look, they've just got an eye for it. Is that a thing? Is that an actual thing? Or is it that, do
you think it's a thing? I'm not sure. I think it's, maybe there is a bit of it being a thing, but I think you train yourself into it. I think my photos now are so different to what they were when I was at high school taking photos, and I thought I took good photos. I did not take good photos then. Or maybe, I don't know. I don't really think I did now, but I think practice has made it really evident what is a good image, or what is going to work for the client. But it totally comes down to what it's for. My personal work is totally different to my client work. Like, it literally, you wouldn't even know it's taken by the same person. Like, I mean, that's one of them sitting over there in a wee frame. It's much more like fine arty, poetic, lyrical, quite abstract. Totally different. So in some people's minds, those are much better photos than my product photos that I took last week for my jewelry client. But my jewelry client needed those photos, so I had to do it. It's like, it's all so different.
Buzzy.
Yeah.
As we wrap up,
yes,
can you please tell the wonderful people out there, if they want to check out all your work, where on earth should they go? Where's the best place to check it all out? And if they want to contact you, what's the best form of contact?
I am Charlie Rose Creative across basically every platform that I could have, because I just wanted to keep it simple.
Don't Facebook her. They probably won't get a response.
So genuinely, you say that, but it's I have a Facebook page, but I generally just tend to link it through from my Instagram posts, so I'm not on there very much. I prefer email. I like emails for work stuff.
Cool.
If it's a question or a query or a chat, I'm totally happy with Instagram DMs. They're great. They're fine. But when it's work, I like to keep it in emails, so that it's all in one place, and so that I can go back and find it if I need to. So Charlie Rose Creative is my Instagram, is my Facebook. My website is charlierosecreative.com. And my email is hello@charlierosecreative.com. So it's all the same. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming to my wee studio home as well. It's great. I love it.
This has been cool. It's always nice to catch up with you.
Always good.
We literally generally bump shoulders at an event and
try to catch a story of the other one before the other one sees it.
Yeah.
Which I have a few people called me out on, by the way. People are like, I love watching you and Dave do that stupid game. Why? I don't even know why it started, but it's so funny. So
people were bumping into me at Electric Ave, and they're like, oh, I know you. Oh, I follow Charlie. And I was like,
I've seen the zoom in videos. Yeah.
So if you don't know, Charlie and I, whenever we're at an event together or we see each other, we just take a video of each other, and it's and
the aim of the game is to do it before they see you.
Spotted,
so one of my favorites is to have it on the front camera, and then like walk up beside Dave, and then like fling it up in front of his face and be like, hello. It's quite good.
Many a time.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I'm really into it. It's a fun game.
So stay tuned for that.
Thank you.
But
thanks for coming in.
Right, all good.
So fun. Thanks for the chats.
Cheers, mate.
Lovely.
See you all.
Bye.